Not hearing any sound, Scott. There it is.
This place is amazing. It reminds me of the Everglades in Florida. But the difference is, no one seems to know about it. They're not even bothered by us whatsoever. This is incredible. They're not even flying away.
That's got everything. It's got the open bulls, the cormorants, yellow bulls. 2 different types of cormorants.
Jeff is sure it's a really big discovery. Maybe one of the most important places for birds in Africa.
More birds in one place than I've ever seen in my life. 7 different species, over 500-600 trees, and each tree has at least 40 or 50 birds in. It's a phenomenal amount of birds.
There's a lot of crocs too. Jeff thinks they're here to snack on any chicks that fall out of the nests. I want to climb one of these trees and film what's going on up there. Because I think my shots will show how special this place is and why it must be saved. Plus, I love climbing trees.
Careful, man.
Yeah, climb a thorn tree. That'll be fun, he said.
I was thinking crocodile immediately.
And Jinger got worried. He's like, uh-oh, and he ran to the front.
It's not good.
Why?
Crocodile.
Lots of crocodiles.
Now, those are some serious thorns. We're gonna have to get some climbing gear and do it properly. I think this is our tree. We're not gonna give up for a little cut. Jeff, this is looking really good, man. I'm seeing eggs already. It's all right. Don't worry, girls.
These guys are called yellow-billed storks. I think they're beautiful. Their feathers are tinged with pink only during the breeding season. It's hard to tell the male from the female, but they're both very tender to each other. All the flirting eventually leads to this. And these are called open-billed storks. They have such a beautiful gloss on their feathers. They're busy mating as well. And these are my noisy neighbors, the African darters. They already have chicks. You hear it? Crying for food. They beg constantly. They don't even wait to get served. They just grab the food right out of their parents' throat. They're not just noisy, they're a bit rude. Oops. I'm set up directly under their nest in the poop firing line. I'd love to film chicks hatching. I think that would really make people fall in love with this beautiful place. The eggs are laid on different days, so they won't all hatch at the same time. It takes about a month, so I could be here for a while.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific and the Explore Alliance. It was a real, very nice video of all those birds out there in those wetlands. It's so cool.
Where was that? Do you know exactly?
I don't know. Let me see if I can find the details on that. I'll look for it while we're
during
talking
the show.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been busy today. Ken, I saw you broadcasting earlier on Amazon Live, and that was great.
And we did Facebook before that. So
and you did Facebook before that too. That's right.
Right.
So,
Yep.
so anyhow, those videos are, so that you can see the products. They're more product oriented, but the gear doesn't mean much unless there's things to go look at, and that's what these shows are all about. So, but I wanted to talk about our viewers today. So we've got Mike Wiesner logged on first. He was on yesterday talking about how to navigate the International Dark Sky Association's path towards getting a park or a place designated as an international dark sky place. It's not an easy process. It's not meant to be an easy process. But more and more places are becoming anointed with the IDA seal. One of the places I found that was really, really interesting was Sark Island. It's a whole island designated as a dark sky island. It was the first one done. It may be the only one done. I'm not sure. Then we've got Chris Larson's on, Harold Locke, Beatrice Hines is with us, Centil Megapan. We have, who else? Billy's Astros on. A lot of us amateur astronomers do love birds, and I'm one of them too. More about birds than I do, though, Kent. So we're glad to have you on the show.
I don't know that much, but I learn more every day. How about that?
Every day. Yeah.
So, you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, why don't we? Now, this
Okay.
is going to be viewer submissions again, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
And so,
Okay.
First, before we do that, remind everybody about the ongoing astrophotography class contest from Explore Alliance. It's a meteor shower or meteor photography contest. So a pretty narrow niche that we felt like there might be more people out there with images than there are apparently. So if you enter at this point, if you enter, you may win. You have a pretty good chance of winning. I mean, we have more entries than prizes, but not that much. So anything is worth entering if you have a picture of a meteor, whether it's the most most spectacular stacked image of 300 meteors during a meteor shower, or just one meteor that you happen to catch lucky on a summer night doing astrophotography. Send it in. There's money on the table, and there's a framed print on the wall if you win. So anyway, pitch for that. You can go to Explore Alliance on our website, and Scott will share that link. So
yeah,
I went camping last weekend, Scott, out at Lake Fort Smith State Park. Took a pair of the 8x42 Hunter Special HD binoculars out, and was treated to an invasion of cedar waxwings. I've started my life list.
Cedar waxwings.
Cedar waxwings. So yeah, we've had a pic. We talked about them a few episodes ago. They travel in giant flocks, typically 25 to hundreds of birds, and as their name suggests, they feed on cedar berries, the berries of the fruit of cedar trees, and they were going through stripping the trees as they moved along, and they have a very really high pitched whistle, just sort of a can't whistle all of a sudden. It's a really
bird. I'm looking at one right now.
Oh yeah, they're spectacular birds. And there's the black mask on them, and it was a cloudy, not sunny day, so couldn't really see if they had any of the red wax that builds up on their wingtips. Hence the name. White-throated sparrows, American robin, northern cardinal, junco, blue jay, American crow, red-bellied woodpecker, Carolina chickadee, pileated woodpecker, and by sound, a red-breasted nuthatch. I couldn't find it.
One weekend that you saw all of this.
That was all in about most of those birds, other than the pileated woodpecker and the red-breasted nuthatch, were literally within 15 minutes. Got up and just went out, and the woods were alive, and didn't have binoculars with me. We got there after the registration had closed, and so we went ahead and set up in our reserve campsite. And the next morning, got up and walked up to the visitor center, and there was a bunch of birds that were out feeding. When I went back to the trailer and we had to do something, and it came back and they were already gone. But there was two birds I couldn't identify. I could hear them, I could see them, but I didn't have binoculars with me, that had a spectacular song. Not sure what they were. But didn't think to record it on my phone to try and come back and identify it later. But in a mixed flock of chickadees and titmice and birds like that, often songbirds will travel with them. And there were some songbirds back in the trees that I just couldn't really make out without binoculars. So anyway, so it was cool. Pileated woodpeckers, big, loud, noisy birds, easy to spot with no leaves on the trees. And then the red-breasted nuthatch, I identified by sound, never could find it, but I'm confident that's what it was. So anyway, get out there. And I did take some pictures of the cedar waxwings, just realized I was going to put it in the slide deck just to show it. I'll do that next week. I took it by holding up my iPhone to one side of the binocular, just like this, just holding it up and trying to set it up and take pictures. And, it's better than nothing. It's not a great picture.
I'll show what they do look like.
They're spectacular birds.
This is There's one sitting on a branch. That's the egg.
It's a weird
Really
looking egg.
beautiful egg, huh? There's one feeding
There we go. That's a better picture. But
the
even
red berries that they eat.
but even then, it just doesn't do that golden color
Oh,
justice.
look, on the very tips there, it's yellow.
Yeah, if you go on the wings, go back to that last picture. There we
Oh,
go. There's the wax. That's
Okay, so
that's
yellow edge tail, and then that's not wax, right? I mean,
That's
the
wax.
feathers.
that's
It is wax.
Yeah, it is a wax that builds up on the wingtips. The coloration is controlled mostly by what they eat. The redder, the more they eat of something, the redder it gets.
I see.
But the identifier is the sweeping crown and that black mask, and
Yeah.
this and that really really high pitched single note whistle, just a
Mhm.
and those are the identifiers. So, all right, so here we go. Let me share my screen and remember to share the sound. Here we go, and off we go into the wild bird yonder.
Now you are sharing your whole desktop.
Well, how about that? How about that?
There you go.
There we go. All right. Come on. Let's go. All right. So this is from Carl Bernhardt. I didn't have a name on this one. Sorry about leaving it off. The question is, how many species do you see, Scott? I know you're looking on a big computer screen. How many species can you find of birds in that picture? I'll give you a minute to look at it, study it. I literally blew this up and looked at every bird that I could find.
4. I'm going to say at least 4.
So
Oh, 5. 5.
let's see which, if as we go through these, tell me if you found them or not. So I think there's at least 5. There may be more, but there's at least 5. So here we go. I see 5. And here is the first one. They're Bonaparte's gull. Now then, not named after Napoleon Bonaparte, named after one of his cousins who lived in the United States and was active in the American Academy of Natural Science in Philadelphia in the 1820s. And he got a bird named after him. One of his friends named these gull after him. These are in their winter plumage. Their range is most of the continental US. And these were taken in Lake Paris, California, which is down here in very southern California, by Carl Bernhardt during a feeding frenzy the week before Christmas. The birds were tearing it up. So these are the Bonaparte's gull. Here we go. Listen to this sound. This is sort of a mix. It's not really easy to hear. Here we go. Of course, there's always a crow.
Always.
Sort of a weird sound, almost a duck-like, not a quack, but sort of a buzz, almost a quack, maybe almost like a really loud hummingbird sound, maybe. But these are big birds. They're 11 to 12 inches long, so they're the size of the crow that is apparently ubiquitous in every sound recording we get. This is effectively the only good sound I could find of the Bonaparte's gull. The breeding adults, which in the video with the sound have black heads, red legs, and a large white triangle on their wingtips that contrast with their gray wings. The non-breeding birds, which is the ones we see here, are mostly white with grayish upper wings, white primaries that are edged in black, So those are all the ones circled in red, and a gray spot on the cheek. Immature birds are similar to the non-breeding adults, but their upper wings are edged in dark gray, not black, and the tail is tipped in black. So the birds that I have circled, I'm pretty confident every single one of them, because I blew it up and looked, is a Bonaparte's gull, except for this big circle right here. And there's another bird right there. We're going to talk about what it is. I should have made that circle a little smaller. So Bonaparte's gull, let's listen to a little bit more of the sound. Much easier to identify its breeding plumage because of that black head. All these birds being somewhat just white birds made it much more difficult to identify. Anyway, so they form tight, swift flocks that feed on small fish. By dipping and diving, they do go underwater in pursuit of birds or of food. They are known to steal food from other birds. Migrants can occur over many types of open water, following farm ponds to take worms and insects. They migrate to the northern boreal forest, as we can see in the breeding ground in the map. And when they are in breeding ground, their diet consists almost entirely of aerial insects that they catch on the wing. So they don't dive or feed on aquatic animals during breeding season. And they capture, like I said, capture them in flight. While they're flying, their call, it becomes more harsh, and their flight style resembles that of a tern. So having not talked about terns, we don't know what the flight style is. They're like numerous aquatic habitats, rivers, lakes, bays, open ocean, where again they feed on insects and small fish and other aquatic life. In the far north, they feed in the boreal forest and on the taiga, tundra, and open areas. And as I said, not named after Napoleon Bonaparte, but one of his cousins, who apparently. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know Bonaparte had cousins in the United States, but it does make sense that that's the case. So Carl got a picture of a big group of Bonaparte's gulls. So moving along, let's go to the next slide, which is the same slide. And here we have snowy egrets. Now, I'm not sure there's some smaller egrets in here. They aren't as big. It was hard to match up the size because this bird right here is not as big as this bird, but I just couldn't see enough identifiers to be able to make a decision on it. So I'm going, as they're all snowy egrets. These are non-breeding adults. Most of the southern 2/3 of the United States can have these birds at some point, either during migration, year-round, or breeding. Let's listen to the snowy egret call, as much as this is a call. This is a weird one.
That sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher.
It sounds like one of the chipmunks to me. That's not. The other was a songbird. That's just a weird sound right there.
Yeah.
Just. Yeah, it sounds like somebody talking almost. Okay, these are really big birds. 22 to 26 inches tall, which makes them larger than a crow, but smaller than a goose. Because of their fantastically plumage, these elegant herons have white feathers, black legs, bright yellow feet, and a black bill with a skinless yellow patch that turns reddish on their face during breeding season, and their feet turn a deep orange yellow as well during breeding season. Their feet are used to stir up the water and the soil, at the mud, to stir up insects and aquatic animals, and they herd them from their feet and get them to swim into range of their dagger-like bills where they stab their prey. Weirdly, immature birds have greenish legs instead of their black legs. Because of their fantastic breeding season plumage, which we don't see in this picture Carl got because it was taken the week before Christmas, not breeding season. They were hunted to near extinction for fashion, and the plumes sold for astronomical amounts of money, no pun intended, based on what we do. But conservationists stepped in and began to rally support to stop the hunting and the trade of those feathers, resulting in a fantastic rebound from a very endangered species to now a common sight around the lower 3/4 of the United States. They're denizens of shallow water wetlands where they spearfish. Generally, they are seen standing in solitary ambush, waiting for a meal to swim or otherwise come by. But they also will run back and forth in the water, stirring up the animals, and then herd them with their wings in an effort to concentrate them for feeding as well. They are colony nesters and nest in mixed flocks with other herons, generally on wetlands and isolated areas or islands and places like that where they can breed undisturbed. Very large, beautiful bird, very elegant. I have seen them not in their breeding plumage. I would love to see that because the pictures just look fantastic. So we now have 2 birds, right? So we're going to move on to the great egret. There's one great egret in this picture. These birds are tall, up to 40 inches tall. So more than 3 feet tall. Big, tall birds, especially when they stand up straight and stick their necks out. Their feathers are all white, period, white feathers. Have a yellowish orange bill and black legs. They are birds of marshes, swamps, and wetlands and shallow pools, both fresh and saltwater, so they can live in freshwater, saltwater, or brackish water. They hunt by wading. They're known to catch their prey sometimes by swimming and even hovering in the air and dipping fish. Let's listen to the sound real quick. I think it's a croak. I call that a croak. I don't know.
Sounds like a ratchet.
It's almost a growl or something. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't think that sound was coming from a bird.
Yeah, you think it's coming from like a raptor or something on Jurassic Park.
Yeah, exactly. If it's at night and you hear that, it's going to spook you.
Heck yeah.
So there we go. A very interesting sound, a croak or a growl or something like that. Like other herons, they are colony nesters. building high in trees and big jumbled piles of sticks. And they seek isolation, generally on islands on which to site the mixed colonies. The supposition is the mixed colonies offer potential reduced numbers of mammals, which would be egg stealers and juvenile stealers as well. And here's something I would have called this fratricide, as in, you know, killing your brothers, but it's called Siblicide, and it's common in the Great Egret, in which the larger chick kills the nestmates.
Nice.
So I guess generally it's going to be the first hatched would be my guess. And because it's the oldest and therefore got food and grew a little bit bigger, and either pecks them or pushes them out of the nest, where the cycle of life continues. And you know, something on the ground is going to see an easy meal, and the cycle of life goes on. They're very slow wing flappers. They are very powerful flyers, and they often cruise at 25 miles an hour when they're flying, although they don't look like they're that fast of flyers. And it is the symbol of the National Audubon Society. Hey, Scott, do you have any comments, any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah. Billy's Astro said it sounds like my weed eaters tried to start.
Actually, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. You know, we have other people I don't think I recognized that are watching us is Pekka, Mike Overacker, and Jim Norwood. I think Annie is out there lurking in Chatland.
Yes, Annie, I've already announced the meteor contest.
Yes,
but I'll do it again for you. Meteor contest ends the end of the month. Meteor photography contest.
You know, something else I will briefly mention. I don't normally talk about other manufacturers of telescopes or that kind of thing, but there is a very bizarre thing that's happening here at Explore Scientific. There's a very small device called I think it's called a star scope.
That's what you said, star scope. That's what you.
Star scope, yeah. And you know, I'm not going to go into the attributes or any of the claims or anything like that, but what is happening is that there are some unhappy people that had purchased a star scope and were told to contact us at Explore Scientific. Just for the record, folks, we don't sell the star scope. We don't distribute the star scope.
We don't make the star scope.
We don't make it. We have nothing to do with it. So, you know, if you've been looking at something called a star scope, I'm going to just have you look a little harder. Okay. So you might want to look at reviews, that kind of thing.
Another direction.
But don't call us regarding the star scope.
Call the BBB.
Or just call us the actual real star scope. So
yeah. So, which is driven, you know, customer service crazy with all the calls that they have in the field.
Right.
Yep. So, all right. So moving on. So we've identified 3 birds, correct? So the next bird, Scott, where are the next birds you see? Where do you see them at?
How about these guys that got their head poking up out of the water?
Okay. Yep. You spotted them. Those birds are Double-Crested Cormorants. There's one that's obvious right there, but you spotted the other one over in the corner right there. Okay. That's a double. That's I'm pretty certain this is a Double-Crested Comrade, not a neotropical because of the range, although there is a little bit of overlap. I finally settled on Double-Crested Cormorant. And as you noted, they swim only with their necks exposed. Weirdly, because their feathers don't have oil and they don't repel water, so they sink and they don't float like other birds have oily feathers that repel water, like water off a duck's back. Well,
Yeah.
water off a cormorant's back doesn't happen. It soaks in. Let's listen to the cormorant, a very weird bird. That's it right there.
This must allow the cormorant to dive pretty deep, I would think.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to start over again on that sound and get it back here. They generally only do this when they're taking off and landing and mating. Otherwise, they are generally quiet birds. Almost don't make a sound. Here it goes again. That's what I sound like when I clear my throat or sneeze. Okay, these birds are also big birds. They don't look like it in these pictures, but they can be up to 35 inches long, which is significantly larger than a crow. It's almost as big as a goose. So they're large water birds, as we can see. They have very small heads on long kinked necks, thin, strong hook bills, roughly the length of their head. There is a orange patch on their cheeks, and their heavy bodies sit low in the water, partially because their feathers get waterlogged. Adults are brown black with a small patch of orange on skin. Immatures are brown overall, but pale on the neck and breast. In breeding season, the adults develop a small double crest of stringy black or white feathers on their heads, thus the term double-crested cormorants. They dive to catch small fish because their feathers hold water. It does make them strong underwater swimmers, but they also have to dry out their feathers somehow, and they're often seen in the mornings posing with their wings spread wide, standing on docks, levees, rocks, tree limbs, roofs, trying to dry their feathers, and they will do that periodically during the day to get their feathers dry again. Again, this is caused because they do not have the oil glands that most other water birds have. They often travel in V-shaped flocks that shift and reform and morph as they travel, and they fly with bursts of choppy flapping and short glides. So oftentimes, and I've seen a lot of these when I've been out in the wintertime, looking for ducks, they look like a flight of Canada geese, except clearly they're not. The flock morphs really rapidly, and when you get close, their silhouette is completely different than a Canada goose looks. They do hunt underwater, and in videos you'll see they look just like if you've seen a seal, a video of a seal pursuing, swimming underwater. Looks exactly the same thing. It's amazing to watch these birds swim underwater like a underwater mammal swims. It's believed that the feathers getting wet gives them an advantage because they can swim much better underwater. They're not having to fight all the air trapped in their feathers and the oil trying to get to the surface. So they stay underwater better. All right. In North America, the double-crested cormorant is the most common and widespread cormorant. It's often seen in fresh waters, breed on coast as well in large inland lakes, form colonies of sticks, nests built high in trees and on islands and in patches of flooded timber. They will also nest on the ground, and their nests often include trash and junk, ribbon, deflated balloons, fishing line, fishing net, plastic debris, rope, much more. Nests have even found being made with other parts of dead birds, like bones and carcasses of dead birds. So
the other birds away.
If the bird's dead, it probably doesn't care. So this is the double-crested cormorant, widespread in the United States, up in the central provinces of Canada and up into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, but mostly a bird of the United States, and then the coastal Caribbean down past the Yucatan Peninsula. Interesting bird, bizarre looking bird, especially when you see him swimming effectively underwater, much like a loon does, if you're more familiar with a loon. And so now then, moving on. All right, Scott, you said 5. Where's the 5th bird at? Didn't know there's going to be.
Where we been already? Let's go back.
Go back. Okay, so I will back up. So I'm going to start from the front. Okay, we'll get back to the very first. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
no, you're cheating because you're looking to where the circles haven't been. I'm not going to do this for you. You've got to find the bird. Okay, I've deleted. So I will tell you this: the bird I'm looking for is not in any of those red circles. So we know where the cormorants are. We know where the great egret is. Where is that elusive, obvious 5th bird?
Well, okay, so I think I was looking at one of these birds that's in the water, and there are,
Like right here, this one, or these over here.
no, the ones in the back, the upper right.
Upper right there. I can't tell what that is. I think it's a Bonaparte's gull that's diving. It's my guess.
I see. And what is that thing in between those 2 red circles? The black lump that's right
I
there.
think it's probably a bird that has gone underwater.
I see.
And there's looks like a rock or something right here. And there's another something right here that's a rock, I'm pretty sure. That's what it looked like. So,
Okay.
all right, this bird was hard to spot. It took me a while to find it and realize that what I was not looking at. So step through this. There's the cormorants. And here we go. Where is the elusive? It's hiding over there on the left, right there.
But I looked at that and I thought it was one of the Bonapartes.
But it's not. And I'll show you why. So there's the bird circled. Now I'm going to blow it up. Okay. The Bonapartes don't have black wings on the top. So you're looking,
I see.
you're looking at a black wing of a big old black patch, right?
Yeah.
This is the under part. So we'll go through this.
I don't think it's so black. That part right there looks like shadow.
But if you compare it to the other birds, there's no shadows on the other birds.
There is black tips.
There's black tip right here on this one. Yep. Right there.
It's like that on the other one too.
And then the tail and legs. I don't know what this bird is. I do not think it's a Bonaparte's gull because of that right there. We can't see the head, but you look at these other Bonaparte gulls. There's no black. Right here's one, the backside of a wing. There's no black on it other than the tips. And there's no shadows on any of these birds, right? The wings are the same way. I went through the same thought pattern you did, Scott, exactly. I settled on this is not a Bonaparte's gull. Now, if it was a black-tailed gull, this would match, but the black tail it doesn't have a black tail. So this is the top side of the tail. It should be black. I gave up. I don't know what it is. I'm not enough of a bird expert to say. If we could see the head, we probably could do a better case of identifying it. But it points out that, not all birds are easy to identify, even with a good picture. But I do not think it's a Bonaparte's gull. Could be wrong. We'll, maybe have to ask Dan at some point to have him weigh in on it. So moving on, I do not know. I give up on this one. So moving along, another photo from Lake Paris from Carl Bernhardt. These are common mergansers in their winter plumage. I originally felt like they were all females, but the more I read, the male, which looks completely different in the summertime, has a dark blacker head, much different. And I gave up trying to decide what they are. So, when you look at this, notice I don't have a sound. I couldn't find anybody that had a good sound of a merganser. So we all see this one right here. So that's the one I see when I look at it. I see it because it is going the other direction. It's up in the water. Its wings are spread. But then I noticed this one over here, but I couldn't find a good recording of the sound of mergansers. So very weird looking bird, very streamlined head. They're 21 to 28 inches long, so a pretty good sized bird. Closer to a crow than a goose, smaller than a Canada goose, larger than a mallard. Males and females differ in coloration. Adult males are crisply patterned, gleaming white bodies and dark iridescent green heads for most of the year. The back is black and the bill is red. This is in the males. Females and immature birds are gray bodied with a white crest and rusty cinnamon heads. From late summer to mid-autumns, males wear a non-breeding plumage, looks very similar to female plumage. In flight, both sexes show large white patches on their upper wings, but larger in the adult males. These are mergansers, which makes them diving ducks. They live on a diet of fish and crustaceans. They form large flocks in winter, keeping together to feed and court. They migrate with mixed flocks of ducks, diving ducks generally, including buffleheads, golden eyes, and mergansers, all of which are spectacular ducks. The buffleheads and golden eyes are just spectacular birds. They're rare in oceans, but sometimes use saltwater estuaries. I believe Lake Paris is a freshwater lake. I don't think it's a estuary or brackish water, right? It's a freshwater lake. They nest in tree cavities in northern forests near bodies of water. So that's the common merganser, a weird bird. I was surprised I couldn't find a recording of it, but I could not find a recording. Its sound is not much. It doesn't make much of a sound, but I tried. So get ready to sneeze.
I'm reading about it here. It says that common mergansers are known to form crutches, I guess is how it's pronounced.
I think it's creech.
Creech. Is that what it is?
I think it's creeches.
Yeah, they have like group care of the chicks. They said that single females have been observed with over 70 ducklings at one time. So they do that, I guess, as a defense mechanism. Because it's not just one bird watching over its own ducks.
So it takes a flock to raise a creech.
I guess.
All right, there we go. So I like this picture a lot, especially that bird that I have circled over there. It just has a funny, I see it. I can just hear what it's saying. If that's its mate, I can just hear what it's saying to it. It's saying something. And so anyway, another great photo by Carl Bernhardt. The coastal areas are very productive for birds, as we've seen. He's getting a variety pack of shorebirds and terrestrial, birds as well. Pretty cool. But mergansers are weird looking birds. They look fast, just sitting there with that hair blown, the feathers blown back. But it is amazing how the plumage changes from summer to winter in the male birds of this one. Now then, a picture from Jim Norwood from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Jim brings us what almost looks like a fabulous painting of everyone should be able to identify this, the American turkey vulture. Oh, no, the American bald eagle, not the turkey vulture. Turkey vultures have red heads, and this has a white bald head. Trying to make a dad joke there. Let's listen to the bald eagle call.
Oh, by the way, Ken, I saw a bald eagle flying over Highway 49 out here.
Yeah. Heath, from customer service networks and quality control, quality assurance, saw his first flying bald eagle, he said last week, and he had never seen one before. And it is majestic to see them just
Oh, yeah.
soaring
Yeah.
along. Yeah. Here we go. Very unique song, beautiful bird. Let's talk about the bald eagle. I suspect most people are familiar with it. This picture Jim got is, my guess, it's going to be a fall picture with the setting sun illuminated a tree behind it. This is a fantastic image that truly looks like a painting. 28 to 38 inches tall, makes them bigger than a goose. Adult bald eagles have white feathers on their heads, heads and tails, and they just have a general dark brown body with golden highlights on their wings. Legs and bills are bright yellow, like we can see in the photo as well. Immature birds are mostly dark-headed and dark-tailed. Their brown bodies and wings are mottled with varying amounts of white. Young birds attain adult plumage at about 5 years, and people that are familiar with bald eagles can age them based on the coloration patterns they have. There's some photographers I see on Facebook, and they're like, this is a 3-year-old because of this, and this is a 4-year-old, and this is a 5-year-old. You can find them soaring high in the sky, flapping low over treetops with their slow wing beats. And as we see here, they all will perch in trees and on the ground. In the wintertime, they generally gather in large flocks where food is prevalent. They're scavengers and will just as easily harass other birds into abandoning their kill, or by eating carrion or even garbage. However, their diet originally is mainly fish, but they also hunt mammals, gulls, as in seagulls, and other waterfowl. They're always going to be found typically near lakes, reservoirs, rivers, marshes, coastlines. There's a large population in Northwest Arkansas that got started back when it was legal to dispose of your chickens by scattering them in fields, which drew a huge flock here in the 70s, like dead chickens, because there's a large poultry industry here, lots and lots of poultry houses, and they would just throw them out in the fields, and became a easy buffet. And the bald eagle population here boomed in the wintertime because there was easy meals. Now illegal to do. However, there's congregations that I suspect some version of that is still going on. But large bodies of water, the lakes around here, Beaver Lake here, Grand Lake over in Oklahoma, which are large lakes that attract large populations. In Alaska, they're found around fish processing plants and dumpsters because there's plenty of food coming out of those plants that aren't going into the human food supply. Their nests, as we've talked about, are massive. I found reference to one in Florida that was 3 meters in diameter, which call that 10 feet, right? Was over 6 meters tall. So, just astounding. 6 meters. It's 18 feet tall. One in Ohio was used for 34 years until the tree it was in blew down. It weighed nearly 4,400 pounds.
Jeez. They just
Okay.
keep building on it.
They just keep building on it. It's the size of, but think of a VW Beetle, right?
Yeah.
Think of the old VW Bug. That's how big an eagle nest can be. And when you see one, there is no doubt that it's an eagle nest because these are massive things. All right. Now here's something I learned. They play with toys. They've been seen playing with bottles and other objects, literally just playing with them. and one experienced observer reported seeing 6 birds passing sticks between each other during midair flight. So they were just out messing around, and they'll play with bottles, rolling them around. They'll pass sticks back and forth. And used to be, when I was growing up, bald eagles were here in the wintertime and not in the summertime. But in the past 20 to 25 years, there is a resident breeding population, and there are beginning to be a significant number of nests here in Northwest Arkansas and Northeast Oklahoma, because
I
this
thought
is
I would have to go somewhere to go see them. I knew they were here in Arkansas, but
Right.
just to be driving up to the mall, and seeing a bald eagle flying over the freeway was
And
just
when we,
like,
when we say
wow.
up to the mall, we're only talking about 3 miles away from here.
That's
It's
right.
it's not like he was driving out in the country. He was getting deeper and deeper into the city.
Into
and-
the city.
Yeah, and here's
But
the bald eagle.
there's a river or something that is
Johnson,
on the way.
Clear Creek. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
probably
that's
Johnson.
where it was.
Yep, Clear Creek. Yep, for sure. So beautiful photo by Doug Norwood. I stopped sharing. I'm going to reshare one more time because I have one more picture. We always end up with a non-bird flyer. So we're going to go to this non-bird flyer. Am I sharing my screen or the whole screen, or
Yes,
is that the PowerPoint or the whole screen?
the PowerPoint.
Okay, so this is a common darter from our friend Beatrice Hines in Belgium. So it's a damselfly, I believe. She uses a macro lens. I'm going to do a show just with her. She's provided me some information on it. I want to go ahead and use it here. We'll see this again in different poses. So this is a common darter from Belgium. So amazing to start looking at the details in there, especially in the head and the shoulders, and looking at the plating there. Just a really cool shot. Handheld using a macro lens. Thank you, Beatrice, for sharing that with all of us. Thank you, Carl and Jim, as well, for sharing your work with us. It makes I love the shows from Reader Stuff. I need more. I've exhausted my supply mostly. Got a couple more pictures, but the supply is more or less exhausted. So that's out there as well. So send me your photos. Send them to Explore Alliance at explorescientific.com. Yep, Scott's going to put it in the chat for everybody. Send me your pictures. And if you don't have any bird pictures, there's no time like the present to start
making them. That's right.
And just start. If you're, if it's a picture, like I said, next week I'll show you the picture I got of a cedar waxwing holding a phone up to an 8x42 binocular, handheld, both of them. Got a decent picture, but the light was no good. It was overcast, and it's just a picture of the bird. But it's a memory. It's a memory maker. That's why I'm gonna keep it, because it'll remind me of the trip we took. So get out there and start recording your birds. I've started my life list, and gonna start trying to add to it. So
now, how many are on your life list now?
If written down, okay, so let's look from last weekend. Cedar waxwing, white-throated sparrow, robin, cardinal, junco, blue jay. I'm lost. Hang on. Cedar waxwing, white-throated sparrow, robin, cardinal, junco, blue jay, crow, red-bellied woodpecker, Carolina chickadee, pileated woodpecker. That's 10. Red-breasted nuthatch is 11. White-throated and white-crowned sparrows, that'd be 13. Bald eagle is 14. Mockingbird is 15. Did I say robin in there? Yep, robin, 15. I'd have to look it up. I've gotten written down at the house. I'm counting species that, I just see commonly. White-breasted nuthatch, tufted titmouse, probably. I need to go over to City Park and bag some ducks and geese. Canada goose, giant Canada goose, lesser Canada goose, white-fronted geese, speckle-bellied geese, snow geese, mallard duck, green-winged teal, blue-winged teal, lots of divers that I just have to think about, from being out in the blind, in the wintertime and season in January.
Okay.
Buffleheads, golden eyes. I've probably got, if I sit down, if I just sit down and bluebird, eastern bluebird, painted bunting, indigo bunting, the more I think about of birds I just see all the time, it's probably pushing 100 birds would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I'm starting from point zero basically and going from there. So I have a, right now it's just a ubiquitous. I've seen them. Like, does it count to say I've seen flamingos at the Kansas City Zoo? And
I
those
think a
yellow.
lot of birders would say that's cheating,
That's what I'm saying. It's it's not cheating. You got to see them in the wild. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Yeah. So anyway, probably somewhere between 50 and 100. I need to just sit down, and I haven't written down all those other ones, but they're so common around here. I should just write them down and ubiquitous. You just say, I saw them, right? Going down the road.
Right.
Yep.
That's right.
So
Okay.
there was two birds I wish I could have identified. I couldn't find them. Didn't have my binoculars with me when I saw them, and just couldn't see them well enough to identify them, and didn't know their song. So without being able to see them, it's hard to whittle down what they might be by their song. Dan George, I am not, right? Dan's got the ear.
He does have the ear. That's true.
So anyway, that's
All right.
That's an update.
Thanks so much, Kent. Thank you to the audience and especially all of you that presented photos for Kent to go through. So very cool. And Beatrice says that she will be sending many more pictures for you. So
That's what I need. I've got 3 or 4 now. Need some more. But
Yep.
And when I get enough, I'll compile them and tell her story about her love of damselflies, and I presume dragonflies are in Europe as well. So
yes.
anyway,
So tomorrow's Friday, and we may or may not have a focus on astrophotography program. Tyler has been under the weather, and so we'll have to see how that goes. But fear not, we'll be on one way or the other, and we'll be talking about what's going on with the Explore Alliance. So you guys have a great night, and we'll be seeing you soon. Keep looking up.